What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norn Radd 89 here, bringing you another video. And for today, we're going to be doing a Radd movie review, continuing the witch subgenre deep dive. Yes, I'm really getting into this so that way I can prep for my top 10 list coming up. And today, we're going to be talking about Practical Magic, which is unabashedly one of my favorite witch films of all time. And if I was to call, chick flicks, like when people are like, oh, you're a guy, like you're a dude, what kind of chick flicks do you like? Like when I think of those kind of movies, this is the number one film. Like this film, I just adore it. So today you're going to hear a lot of positives about this film, and we're going to discuss this, and let's get into it. Roll it. Practical Magic is purely a 90s film. One reason you're easily understand that is because Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman are our leads in this film, and I think they are great. And this is, for me, like I said, one of the key films. When I think of witch films, I always go to Practical Magic because I get such a warm feeling in my heart. This is one of those films that I love returning to, and every time I return to it, my love grows more and more. So this is one that you're going to hear a lot of positives for. So let's get into it. One thing is, I think our cast, Sandra Bullock, Dianne Wiest, Nicole Kidman, I think our cast knocks it out of the park. And I think this is one of those films for me that I can forgive anything that goes wrong with story moments or loopholes, because for me it's more about the characters with this film. I get so involved with the family and the story of the sisters, and how the witch curse has been passed down from generation to generation, and it just curses every man they love. And like I said, when it comes to chick flick type films, this is the one that just hits home for me because it's got autumn vibes, but it's got such a personal vibe. And I love the fact that it deals with children. And my mom was a single mother, so just having Sandra Bullock be in here, and after her husband dies, it's such a tragic event. And there's so many moments, for example, that moment when her husband dies, that I still choke up. I still get emotional. I might not cry, but even when that moment is coming down to that moment in the film, I do get kind of choked up. And like I said, the emotions, that leads right into just talking about how emotional I get with this film too. Even Sandra Bullock, I think her performance is just one of the best. Like when she goes back to the aunts and she's begging them to bring her husband back and use their powers to resurrect him, and she knows that they can do it. It's just so emotional, so potent. And that's probably the scene that I get the most teary-eyed about, because it's when you're in love and you have that person that's just the other part of you, and you feel them, it's literally another part of your soul. To imagine the fact that they're gone, I could and that you have aunts that are witches and they have the ability to resurrect or bring things back from the life. How could you not go to them just begging with every part of your being for that person, to resurrect them? And seeing her face, I think Sandra Bullock does an amazing job with that scene. So there are so many emotions when it comes to this film, and said, nostalgia, because this is one of those films that I think, wow, the first time I got introduced to this film, I think I was probably 7 years old or 8 years old. So it was very early on in my life. I saw this when it came out, around that time. So I was 8 or 9 years old when I saw this film. And ever since then, it's been one of my favorite autumn watches. One other key positive with this film is I love that the sisterhood bond between Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, and, empowerment of women. That's what I really love about this film, is it's kind of a stick it to the man kind of film. And I love that because, me being in real life, just knowing girls and knowing, I have daughters and, sister-in-laws and my wife and everything. And it's just, yeah, they women don't typically like other women, or they don't find it, easy to trust other women. So I love the fact that this film is a woman empowerment film, and has even an example where the town is you're witches, we don't like you, and they're kind of ostracizing them from the town, Sandra Bullock and her kids. And then at the end, in the third act, when we get to it, spoiler alert, this film is from the 90s, but we're going to be talking about third act stuff, so spoiler alert. when we get to the third act, the people who have been ostracizing them and just being, in the town saying, "You're witches, we don't want to help you," come in clutch and come to help Sandra Bullock and, Nicole Kidman's characters to really help them in that third act. We also have to talk about the score by Alan Silvestri. Alan Silvestri just knocks it out of the park with just about everything he touches. And that's one thing. I looked up this film and it has a Rotten Tomatoes score of a 26%, which just blew my effing mind, because I was like, yeah, and especially when you think of Alan Silvestri as somebody who does music and composes music, anything he touches is easy a 3.5-star film or above, because he's an absolute genius when he puts his fingers to the keys or figures out what he wants to do with the music for film. So yeah, the score goes very hard in this film. We also have, speaking of music, the soundtrack music. We have If You Ever Did Believe, Is This Real, Coconut, and This Kiss, or The Kiss. Like, there's so many good songs in this film, and I think the songs, that's one thing that they do carry this film a lot. I think if the songs weren't the songs in this film, it would land very different, but all the songs in here are perfect, and every needle drop hits in the right way. Like, and I just love this film, like, for real, unabashedly. Like I said, there are so many positives that I could praise about this film, and like I could forgive any kind of negatives, because it is such a film that has a moment in time with the 90s, that certain cast, the music and the score and just the way it's portrayed. Like, it's such a good film to watch, and I always feel wholesome in my heart and loved. And like, I love that about this film, is that it, represents love, but also loss, which is a hard thing to deal with in life. And for Sandra Bullock's character to lose her husband, but then also find a character that she can move on with. And I like the fact that her daughters are actually, into having her move on and be with the sheriff character that is, coming to investigate the mystery of the missing boyfriend that Nicole Kidman was dating. I love that, because, you can always go with some films where it's like, oh, the kids are like, yeah, I don't like the new guy, I don't like the stepdad, or I don't like the stepfather, I don't like this guy you're trying to date. And that's such a cliche. And I like the fact in this movie that the daughters love their mom so much. They're like, we want her to be happy, so let's see her move on. So in terms of my book, Practical Magic is a slam dunk. This is a 10 out of 10 film for me, for real. There's really nothing I can say about this film that I would say is a negative. And I can't believe this has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is freaking horrendous. Like, I cannot believe that. The only thing that you can say with being a witch film is that Practical Magic, maybe it's not scary, but that's not what it's trying to be. It's more of a, like I said, a story about sisterhood and bonding and actually moving on from your people in a bad relationship. There are a lot of themes in this film, and even subtextual themes and stuff like that, but I like the fact that the witch stuff is just kind of, it's their family, it's something that they grew up with and they lived in, but it's not a focus of the film. So I actually enjoy that factor, you know what I mean? Where most witch films, I like when they're just all about all the witch stuff and the curses, or they go in a very dark path, and this is not one of those films. There are dark moments in here, but it is one of those movies when you get to the third act that you're going to have a smile on your face. So thanks for sticking around with me all as we discussed Practical Magic. Yes, this is definitely going to be one that is, I'm not ashamed to say, is going to be on my top 10 witch list. And be sure you're subscribed to the channel and stay tuned to the channel, because that ranking list is going to be coming soon, so you can check it out and see my thoughts on my favorite witch films in this subgenre. But please also like the video, share, subscribe. That greatly helps out the channel. But most importantly, y'all know what's up. Have a safe and happy day. Peace out.